Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated movies of 2017. Now before I get started on this list, I want to mention that these films are based on UK release dates, so some of these films may have been released last year in other territories. I've split this list up, so the first slide of this presentation will basically be about films that are released in the Oscar season. I've done this because I think it was sort of lag the pace down if I keep going back to films that were released last year in different countries. So I'm going to get all those out of the way first, and then month by month we're going to be talking about each film which is coming out outside of the Oscars until eventually into the summer blockbuster season, and then eventually to the end of the year. To get started, we're going to talk about the films that are released in the awards season. So these films which are released between January and February. So basically, like I said, these films are just films that are going to be up for the Oscar contenders, at least the ones that are going to be getting a lot of talk about being Oscar contenders. As I'm recording this, Silence and A Monster Calls has already been released in cinemas. I've seen Silence. If you want to check out my review, it's online now. A Monster Calls will be seen in a few days. I'm quite looking forward to that. It wouldn't be a usual film that I'll go to see, because it's got such good reviews. I'm curious as to what sort of film it may be. After that, the highly anticipated La La Land is coming out, directed by Damien Chazelle, the same director as Whiplash, and Whiplash was my favourite film of 2015, so I have high hopes for La La Land. I absolutely adore musical films, especially really well directed, really well orchestrated ones. So I'm very excited for La La Land. The cinematography looks gorgeous, and Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, both great actors. So I think that looks to be a very good film. After that is Ben Affleck's Live by Night. This film, some people have had some negative press. It's been sort of got like mixed reviews at the moment. It has slightly dampened my anticipation. However, the main reason I want to see this is because Robert Richardson is the DP of this film. He's one of my favourite cinematographers. So basically, I'm just looking forward to seeing the visuals of the film. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Also released that week is Manchester by the Sea, which is I don't really know much about this film. I've seen the trailer. It looks like a social realism drama film. It's getting extraordinarily high praise. It looks like to be this year's Room, as far as reception is going. So it looks to be a really good film. The performances, from Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams are being praised, and I know that they're both fantastic actors. As I've seen them in previous films, they gave great performances. Michelle Williams gave a great performance in Blue Valentine. Casey Affleck, again, he gave a great performance in The Assassination of Jesse James. So just based on the actors alone and the reception, I'm highly anticipating that film. Towards the end of January, Hacksaw Ridge is coming out. Mel Gibson's return to direct him. When I saw the trailer for this film, it wasn't something that really impressed me. Although I thought from the trailer that the action sequences looked well shot, I felt it looked a bit sappy and a bit Oscar baity. However, saying that, it's gotten a lot of fantastic reviews. Reviews that I wouldn't expect it to get. From sources like The Guardian and Empire, they've gave it great reviews as well. So there must be something beneath the surface. I'm really. If that is good, I'm really looking forward to it. But I think it should be good if it's getting such good press. But who knows? Then in February now, 20th Century Woman is coming out. Don't really know a lot about this film. I've seen the trailer for it. The trailer doesn't really tell you too much about the plot. It sort of just gives you a little bit of scenes of dialogue. Some great actors in this. It's another film that's getting a lot of great praise. It looks something a little bit different. It looks like it's not something aiming too high as far as trying to get that Oscar, really trying to get that ambition, that money behind it. With the big orchestrated score, the big, sort of dramatic spectacle of it. It looks like a real indie film. After that, another film I'm really looking forward to, Fences, directed by Denzel Washington. The reason why I'm really looking forward to this is I saw Double Toasted do a video, and basically they went over the play, which originally starred James Earl Jones, and you saw a clip of his performance, and it looked absolutely brilliant in that. Now this has Denzel Washington, who also has done performance on Broadway, because it used to be a play before they turned it into a film. The trailer alone looks absolutely fantastic. Yes, I can't. There's nothing really else I can say. It just looks like a brilliantly directed film. Obviously, great acting. So yeah, I really look forward to that one. Also in February is The Founder, the biotopic about the CEO of McDonald's, played by Michael Keaton. It's also directed by the same director as Saving Mr. Banks, which is another biotopic film which I really enjoyed. I really loved the direction and the performances it got out of his actors, so I think this has potential to be as good. And the last film in the Oscar season that I'm looking forward to is Moonlight. Again, I don't know much about this film. I've not even seen a trailer for this film. I've just seen lots of critics put it in their top 10 films of 2016. So, this film does look. I've heard that it's quite an epic film as far as the drama and the character arcs, and the messages and the themes behind it. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing that type of film. Right, so now we're going to go into January, but the films aren't going to be up for the award season. First one to be released is M. Night Shyamalan's Split. I wasn't always the greatest fan of M. Night Shyamalan, but last year he released The Visit, which surprisingly I really quite enjoyed. And this film as well has gone to the London Film Festival, and it's gotten some good reception there. A lot of people saying some good things about this film, and it's in a way it's good to see that M. Night Shyamalan is back on form. It's nice to see sort of the underdog take power again. So I'm looking forward to Split. I love psychological thrillers. It's my favourite genre. So hopefully it will be a really good psychological thriller. So the next one to be released will be Christine. Again, I don't know lots about this film. I've basically just I saw an interview with Rebecca Hall at the Sundance Film Festival. She was talking about getting into character and all of the complex things that she went through. But yeah, this film looks interesting. I'm most excited because of the film's subject matter. It's dealing with some very dark themes. It's a true life story of this news journalist who killed herself on air. So the themes about fame and sort of fame and pressure and stardom, and it can make you more paranoid. So also coming out at the end of the month is Trainspotting, T2 Trainspotting, sorry, the sequel to Trainspotting, the long-awaited sequel. 20 years, over 20 years it's been actually since the original Trainspotting was released. And Trainspotting is absolutely amazing film, one of my favourite British films. Danny Boyle is a great director. Sometimes his films can be a bit iffy, like it's a bit on and off with me. But each film he does, there's always something in it that I enjoy. Something in it about his direction, the way he uses shots and everything. It's quite inspiring, really. I really hope this is good. I mean, there's no reviews out or anything that I know of. Anyway, yeah. So I really hope this is good. I don't expect it to be as good as the first because I really don't think you can top the first Trainspotting. But I just hope this is, a good enough follow-up to be memorable. Right, so we're into February now. The first film which will be released is the Lego Batman movie. Now, I remember when the first Lego movie came out, didn't really have any high hopes for it. I thought it might, be quite funny, which it was. But most people thought, it was just another sort of a cynical marketing tool. But it didn't end up being it. It ended up being a really well-made animated film, and that made a lot of money, which has quite. Obviously it's Lego, so it does have an IP, intellectual property. But I think I was surprised by how much of a success it was. But yeah, that was a good film. A bit rough around the edges, but it still was a good film. So now they're releasing the Lego Batman movie, which quite amusingly looks to be better than the recent DC films. Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad. It looks like it's actually could be a better Batman story than those two films, which to be honest isn't really hard to beat. So after that, we have a re-release of Taxi Driver, commemorating the 40th anniversary of the film. Yeah, I'm sort of cheating here. It isn't a new film, but I am looking forward to going to the cinema and watching this, as it will be the first re-release I've seen in cinemas. And Taxi Driver is one of my favourite films of all time, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that in cinema. And then after that, John Wick 2 comes out. Everyone was surprised by how much they enjoyed the first John Wick. I don't really think anybody, well, maybe a few people, but not lots of people really knew about the first John Wick until it actually came out. There wasn't a big hype about it because it was an original film. It wasn't a sequel. It wasn't an established property. You didn't have this big fantasy background. It was just a straightforward action film, and when people watched it, everyone was surprised by how well choreographed the action sequences were, how well directed the action sequences were, how good Keanu Reeves was in that film. So I just hope they capture the same magic twice with John Wick 2. Just hope they've got something up the sleeve. Yeah, like the other films, I don't quite know how this one's going to turn out because there's no reviews yet, but I'm hoping this one will be as good as the first, and that's all we can hope for. Right, so in March, it's pretty much blockbuster month. Now there may be some indie films which will be released, throughout the year. A lot of indie films aren't on my list just because I don't know anything about them. They usually tend to pop up like about a month before the actual released because they don't have, unlike the big studios, they're not going to have a heavy marketing campaign. They're not going to plan ahead as early as these blockbuster films because obviously they don't have to make as much money. But I'm sure there'll be. So if you see this list and you think, oh, I'm not really seeing many indie films, that's the reason why. So Logan is the first film which comes out that month. I'm a fan of the X-Men franchise. I don't love every film. I wasn't a fan of The Last Stand, and I wasn't a fan of X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I don't think anybody was really. I loved X-Men Days of Future Past. I loved the first two X-Men. I love X-Men First Class, quite an underrated X-Men film. So going off the trailer, everybody loved the trailer. Same thing here. I hope it's as good as the trailer looks. Then there's the new King Kong film, Kong Skull Island, which is basically Warner Brothers' continuation with the whole Godzilla franchise. At the first trailer I saw, I was quite looking forward to it because you saw the massive King Kong, bigger than we've ever seen him before. And they had that element of fear at the end. But then the second trailer came out and it's a bit more sort of light-hearted, and they tried to go for a bit more of a fun, comedic thing. And then, so I sort of lost a bit of interest there. Maybe they can win it back. It does look like a good-looking film. Like, I quite like the cinematographer who's shooting it. So hopefully if they get the script right, it will be a good film, because I really want this film to be a good film. I hope it will be the best King Kong film. I'm doubtful of that. I don't think it will be, but I'm hoping. Like I said, you never really know with these blockbuster films; they can go either way. Then Beauty and the Beast comes out. I'm really looking forward to this film, surprisingly, because I wasn't a fan of Maleficent, which was one of Disney's earlier sort of live action adaptations, which came out a few years ago. And then Cinderella came out. Unfortunately, I missed Cinderella because I wasn't a fan of Maleficent, so I thought it would be more of the same thing, sort of the same quality. But no, a lot of people came out and they quite liked Cinderella. Said it was a good adaptation. So this film, I'm going to give this film a chance. I think it looks great. I love Dan Stevens. He's a really good actor. He's really good in The Guest. Emma Watson, she's a good actress. I've seen her in multiple things besides Harry Potter. That's the first thing that comes up into my head. Yeah, I hope this is as good as it looks. All we know about is the look, and it looks great as far as the visuals are concerned. Then at the end of the month is Ben Wheatley's Free Fire, which sort of looks like sort of a Reservoir Dogs style crime comedy. Ben Wheatley is quite a frequent filmmaker. Like each year, he seems to have a film coming out. I remember this was announced only a couple of maybe about 2 months after High Rise came out, so I was shocked that he had a new film coming out already. High Rise is the reason why I'm quite excited for this, because I've seen the first Ben Wheatley film I saw was Sightseers. I thought it was okay, but I wasn't a big fan of it. But High Rise, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was one of my favourite films of last year. Then I watched Kill List, which I also thought was a great film. So I think he's one of the best British filmmakers, working today. So hopefully he continues that success with Free Fire. So moving on to April, the first film is City of Tiny Lights. Don't know really anything about this film. I know I keep saying that about each of these films, but you really don't know this early in the year. All we have at this point is a screenshot. There's not even a poster, no trailers, nothing at this point. I know it's got Riz Ahmed in this film along with Billy Piper. It's based on a novel which was released in 2005. It's like a crime thriller, crime drama. So it's got quite good reviews at this point. Early reviews, not completely final. I think it's on like 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'll just put this in. Just hopefully it might end up being a really good film. Who knows? So the next film to be released is The Handmaiden, which is directed by the same director as Oldboy, the original South Korean film. I'm quite interested in the look of this film. It looks really well shot, really well directed. It sort of looks like a psychosexual drama. Just going off the trailer and just the poster alone suggests a lot. So I'm quite interested to see where that goes. It's not many films that really sort of test their audience. It's only really foreign films at this point that do that. There's not many mainstream films that do that. But this film looks very artistic, and I think this has potential of being really good. It's got some great reviews at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's got like a 97, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's got absolutely brilliant reviews. And then of course at the end of April you have Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The first Guardians of the Galaxy I really enjoyed. I thought it was a lot of fun. Hopefully this one continues the same success. So in May, as time goes on, there's less that I know about films that are coming out, because I only know about the big blockbuster films that are coming out at this point in time. There probably will be quite a few indie films that will come out. Will probably end up being on my favourite of the list. My favourite at the end of the year list. Obviously, I don't know if there'll be an indie film that comes out in May at the end of my list. But as far as it stands, I only have 2 films in May, which is Alien Covenant, which I'm really looking forward to, because I'm a huge fan of Alien. It's my favourite science fiction film, one of my favourite films, generally. I think Ridley Scott would directed that absolutely brilliantly. Like no one else could have directed that film. I like Prometheus. Not a lot of people like Prometheus. This is the follow-on from Prometheus. I thought it had high ambitions. I thought a lot of its themes were quite intellectual. I know it doesn't always fully pay off. Like there are flaws in the film. I'm willing to admit that, but I can't deny it. I do have a good time when I'm watching it. So I'm looking forward to Alien Covenant, see if it pays off the same success. As I know deep down it's not going to be as good as Alien. All I can hope for is that it'll be as good as Prometheus. Obviously, it stands on where you put Prometheus, but I like Prometheus. Not everybody does. So hopefully it'll be as good as that. If it's better than that, then I'll be very pleased. So yeah, it's all crossing my fingers and hoping. The Red Turtle is an anime film from Studio Ghibli, so they don't usually disappoint. I heard Chris Stuckman gave this a great review, so I'm quite looking forward to this. I don't really know much about it, but I think with anime films, I don't really try looking for them. I like the surprise of going in, and not knowing what to expect, and I come out and I enjoy the films quite a lot because unlike big Hollywood films, you get all this advertising bombasted at you. You get all this bombardment of advertising, but when you watch like an anime film, you don't really get a lot of advertising. So if you know nothing about it, if you see only a poster, and you come out and you end up having a better experience than you will with some of the blockbusters because you don't know anything about it. So in June, this is sort of what we would call diminished expectations. Neither of these films I would say I was really looking forward to. They're just the only two films that I know are coming out in June that I know anything about. Wonder Woman, it could very well be DC's return to form. I really don't know. It's doubtful, but if based off that trailer, they seem to balance out the humour and the story pretty well. It wasn't just one focus over the other. They did sort of match those two tonal elements, the light and the dark, together. They seem to be going like quite of a retro look. It sort of reminded me of X-Men First Class, so hopefully that's a step in the right direction. Don't know yet. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high, but I'm doubtful, but I'm hoping wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'll be very happy. The other films coming out that month is The Mummy. I quite liked the Mummy films, the Brendan Fraser Mummy films. The third one was rubbish. There's no denying it. It's absolutely an atrocious film. But the first two films, yeah, they're not particularly great, but they're fun, entertaining films. And with something like The Mummy, all I'm hoping is that it delivers the thrills and the chills of the other films. I just hope it's scary, but it's also adventurous. That's all you want, and obviously it's well written. It has characters that are memorable, and it's well directed. I just want the film basics. But after the summer we had last year, I'm afraid those things seem to just be thrown out the window. So all I'm wanting is the basics of filmmaking. So let's just hope they get that down before they start demanding another sequel, before they start throwing money at another sequel. Right, so July is always going to be blockbuster month. It's always the big, when all the studios sort of rush out to get their big film that they've been advertising all year. So Marvel is the first one to come out with Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm quite a fan of Spider-Man. I love I like the Sam Raimi films. I think they were well directed, they were well intentioned. Even the third one, yeah, it's stupid. The third one is stupid, but I can't deny it is entertaining, even because of it. Some of it because of its flaws. It's one of those films you just laugh at because it's so bad that it's funny. But the first two Spider-Mans are solid. I haven't actually seen the Andrew Garfield films, the Mark Webb directed Spider-Mans. I haven't heard too good things about those, and to me, it just feels like I'm watching the same film over again the second time. But with this, they're not trying to set up. They don't look like they're trying to set up the whole origin story of Spider-Man, because everyone's sick to death of that by now. I think Marvel are doing the character quite well. I quite enjoyed his experience quite enjoyed his appearance in Captain America: Civil War. So let's hope to keep that success. And Marvel do usually have a good track record, at least with the fans. At least I'm not always a huge fan of Marvel, but hopefully they can deliver on this one, which they probably will. And then after that is War of the Planet of the Apes. I'm a big fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise, especially the reboots that they've been doing. I think each one gets I thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a great film, and then they came out with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was an even better film. I thought it was a brilliant film. They know perfectly well how to measure the things that any cinema will go for. The action, the suspense, all the sort of thrilling special effects, all the spectacle that they would go for. But the films are also really intelligent. There's a lot behind them. They take risks, like with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, for example. They didn't make the apes. They didn't make the whole film like the apes speaking, English. It was all dubbed. It was all sign. It was all sign language. It sort of felt like an indie film for some of it, because they respected their audience. So let's hope they can think of something original and a new fresh take on the material. And who knows, this might even be the best one. Maybe the third one, the rare occasion where the third one is actually the best one of the franchise. Who knows? They might screw it up. You never know. But out of all the big blockbusters, this is the one where I have the highest. This is the one where I think will actually be really good. This is the one where I will go on record and I will say it probably will be a good film. With the other ones, I am doubtful. This one, I think, has a good chance of being a really good film. So after that is the eagerly awaited Christopher Nolan film Dunkirk. I don't even know where to start on this film. Well, for a start, teaser trailer, absolutely brilliant. Apart from obviously the guy in the corner who was laughing, that was all over the internet. But the film looks absolutely beautifully directed, shot in 65mm, and it's rumoured to be presented in 70mm, similar to Christopher Nolan's his previous film Interstellar, but also of course more popular was Hateful Eight by Quentin Tarantino. So I'm quite pleased that Hollywood is sort of going back in this route. I know it's nostalgic and it's all sort of it's all push nostalgia, but at the same time, you go to the cinema and you're paying like a tenner for a film experience. It's a plus that it's shot on film, because it does sound snobby, but why would you pay lots of money for the same things that are on TV? If something's shot on film, there's something special about it. It's almost like you feel like it was worth it going out of your way to see it. It just looks like a really great film. I love war dramas. It's an odd time for it to be released though. Maybe it's because it's got such a high budget that it sort of needs to be released in blockbuster season to sort of guarantee its money. And maybe Warner Brothers at this point have huge trust in Christopher Nolan to make the money, because he has before. Despite how ambitious his films are, he's always made a lot of money for Warner Brothers. It just seems like enough time to release it, because usually these type of films, war dramas, thrillers, anything like that, and these sort of adult targeted films seem to be released towards October, November time. So interesting choice to release it, but I have no doubt that it'll make money and it'll probably be a big success like its previous films. So the last film to come out in July is The Dark Tower, based on the Stephen King novel. Well, the Stephen King novels, there's actually quite a few of them, which is quite interesting as how they're going to adapt that into a film. I'm not sure if this is going to be a film series or if it's just a standalone film, but I'll be very interested to see how they're going to adapt that, because it seems like an odd choice to, like a rather difficult difficult decision really to make it into one film. But hopefully it'll be really good. I've heard the novels are great. I've got the novels. I just haven't read them yet. I'm a big fan of Stephen King's works anyway, so I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, nothing is known about this film. I just know it's starring Idris Elba, and it's got quite a good cast in this film. I know it's gone through quite a few directors as well. Hopefully that's not a bad sign. But yeah, it's another one. I'm not unsure about it, but it sort of seems like the underdog out of these four films. So like I said before, I always like to put my trust in the underdog. Because this is so far ahead of the year, there's less that I know about these films, and there's less that's released about these films because they don't really need to start advertising the films yet. The films might not even be finished production. So the first film is the remake of It. I'm not too sure about this film. I'm not a big fan of remakes, but I've read the Stephen King novel. I haven't seen the the popular film with Tim Curry in it, but hopefully this film will be quite different. I've heard it's different, so that gives me a bit of hope. Whether it's different for the better or different for the worst, who knows at this point. But I'm glad they're just not making a shot-for-shot remake, because that is something that I do despise. Like that they did with Gus Van Sant did with Psycho, which was completely pointless. So hopefully, this. I just hope this film's original, whether good or bad. I just hope it's something a little different, and I hope we do get. Maybe it will be really good. Maybe it will be a really great horror film to be released in October. So who knows at this point? Who knows? But I thought it's worth mentioning. After that is Blade Runner, which one of the most anticipated films I imagine for a lot of people. Starring Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, two really well respected actors. It's directed by I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Denis Villeneuve, who directed Prisoners. Recently did Arrival, Sicario, Enemy. So he's got a good track record of making great films. But the main thing for me with this film is that my favourite cinematographer, Roger Deakins, is shooting this film. And you probably have seen from the trailer already, the cinematography looks absolutely gorgeous. If he doesn't get an Academy Award for this, then I don't see how he's ever going to get one. I think he's been robbed several times. But hopefully this will be his year to get one. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner, which I know a lot of people will say it's one of the best science fiction films ever made. I'm not going to argue with them, but I just could not get into it, unfortunately. I did actually think it was a good film. I just didn't think I couldn't really say it was anything great about it though, because I wasn't too invested. I thought visually it was groundbreaking, especially for its time. But I just really couldn't get into the characters, or I couldn't get too involved into the story. But hopefully with this one I might have a bit more of an interest in the storyline. So this last one, Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express. So they're doing a film adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express. I know absolutely barely anything about this film. I just did a quick look at it. I was just sort of trying to get one more film in for this autumn season. I know that Johnny Depp's in it, which I think is a bit of an odd choice. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully he's not just doing his sort of, make-up comedic stick, because yeah, I think everyone's sick of that by now. Hopefully it's a more serious performance like in Black Mass. Yeah, I don't really know anything about this one. I just thought I'd throw it in because every autumn they release, it's like thriller season. They release quite a few thrillers, and hopefully this will be one that'll be really good. So for the final month, yes, every month there'll be less and less films. The only two ones that I'm really know about anything about, I'm looking forward to, is Disney Pixar's Coco and Star Wars Episode 8. Star Wars is always a great film. They've had a good track record recently. Force Awakens, I thought was a great film. Rogue One, I thought was a good film. Not as good as Force Awakens in my opinion. I thought it was a bit sluggish, and then I thought the climax was absolutely brilliant, but it took a while to really get into it. I don't think the characters were quite as strong as in the Force Awakens. But yeah, Coco I don't really know too much about. But Disney Pixar, they've got a good track record. They do. The animation is always beautiful. Is always top class. So yeah, that's the end of my list. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below. Tell me what your most anticipated films of the year are. So until next time, guys. See you around.